Hey, welcome back. Let's see, today we are going to be flying from Cartagena, Colombia, which was another FSim scenery, and we're headed towards Panama City. And this is an FSim Studios scenery. And one thing that's going to make this a little bit more interesting is the weather's kind of crappy. In fact, you can see the weather radar there. There's some pretty serious cells. And this plane is going to get tossed around. FSim Studios, as I said, makes this scenery. And they're a Canada-based outfit. And to be honest, before 2 years ago, I had never heard of them. I think they had made some Canadian sceneries, like Calgary and whatnot. But actually, I never bought anything from them until I reinstalled the sim a few weeks ago. And I've got MPTO, which is Panama City, and I have their Kelowna scenery as well. And here we are, we're heading straight into this rain. You can see the heading really moves around sometimes when I'm going through this rain cell. I've got ActiveSky installed as well as RealTurb, and then for the EZCA I've actually got the XTM enabled, so I'm going to get pretty much the max turbulence you can get for this particular scenario.
Flaps 28.
Speed check.
Right now I switched over. I'm still on VNav descend and the nav track, but I'm going to be heading over shortly to get on ILS. For the clouds, I have the ActiveSky Cloud Art. I added that on. That's actually one of the cheapest cloud packages out there. Beyond the airport scenery itself, as with everything else, I've got the ORBX Global and the OpenLC class installed. I do not have Vector installed, however. I used to have that installed, but I don't have any VFR aircraft even installed on the sim right now. And I actually have car traffic down to 0. You know, whatever can get me frame rates back. I don't even notice that there's no car traffic on the roads. When you're in these airliners, it's just not that important visually. Yeah, I was a little late switching to to go around on that for the engines there. You can see the lights from the airport up ahead. I'm not sure that's super realistic. In fact, you can't even see the runway yet. That light you see up ahead is not the runway. That's actually, I believe, the dynamic lighting. I have to check and see if it is dynamic lighting, but that's the airport itself. Luckily, the weather actually smooths out a little bit as we get close to the airport. And you can see the runway now.
Down.
Ignition.
Set.
Checked. Auto spoilers.
Now I am in the Avianca MB83 from the Leonardo Maddog, and I will be a little out of place here, even though it's a short hop from Colombia. This airport is actually the hub for Copa Airlines, and so once we get down there, you're going to see a whole lot of Copa jets. This will be the one lonely Avianca jet there. You can see the rain on the true glass that the current versions of the Maddog possess. If you look at the weather radar, it's a lot better here. Still raining, but before coming on to the final course, that was really rough. switch to manual and just taking it in by hand. Now there's a major crosswind here, or at least it sure felt like it. As soon as I went to manual, you can see that the plane just pushed to the right. The PAPI lights look a little weird when you get real close to them.
Spoilers deployed. 4 reverse lights. 80. 60.
Once we get in and set up at the gate, I'll actually zoom around and take a look at the scenery.
After landing check.
It's actually pretty good. FSim Studios is actually working on a from-scratch revision of this scenery, so that'll be really interesting, because actually I think they did a pretty good job with this one. It may be out of date, maybe that's why they're doing it. You know, gates and things like that change all the time on airports. I did do one kind of silly thing here. I had the MCP altimeter set to 500 because I didn't want, you know, because I was expecting to take control by then manually.
After landing check,
And
completed.
once I went below that,
Flaps and slats.
I kept getting the, you know, especially when I got to the ground, I kept getting the altitude. I'm like, took me a little bit to figure out what the heck was going on.
Flaps and slats retract.
Next time I'll just set that to runway elevation.
We'd like to thank you for flying with us today. We appreciate your business and hope to see you again on a future.
You can see all those Copa airliners there.
Parking check.
Parking check. Parking brakes.
Well, and welcome to Panama. One thing I am looking forward, FSim Studios, who makes this scenery, they're actually working on a Vancouver International Airport. And although during the daytime, FS Dream Team's Vancouver is still really awesome, pretty much all of the, other than like the last couple as far as I know, pretty much all the older FS Dream Team sceneries, they have normal maps on the runways, so it's terrible looking if you're shining dynamic light landing lights on them. And so it makes, in this day and age, in the year 2020, it makes those sceneries almost useless for night flying, because every airliner add-on uses dynamic lights for landing lights now. And here we get some other views of the airport. Pretty good. I do have traffic at full, and frames weren't that bad, actually. In fact, actually, frames were better here than the Cartagena when I departed, which kind of blew my mind, because Cartagena is a really small airport. It doesn't even have like a full-length taxiways. You actually have to taxi down the runway itself. You know, pretty small, simple airport. FSim did put a lot of, you know, city scenery though, so, but it didn't seem like it would affect my frames at all. But when I was climbing out, there were some decent stutters, and the weather was much better than this. So I have decent smoothness here with full traffic. You can see that most of the gates are occupied. Almost full traffic. Well, it is full traffic here, 100%. And smoothness is fine, even though the weather is horrible. And visually, the place looks pretty good. So, yeah, I have no complaints about this airport. And if the new version that they're working on is better than this, wow. You know, I I can see some of the textures on there are not the latest and the greatest for texture techniques for P3D 4.5 and 5, but it still is a pretty good looking airport. All right, well, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.